Welcome back to the clash between Manchester City and Crystal Palace. Apologies, we were encountering some technical issues, but we can now bring you the live commentary of the match. A throw-in to Crystal Palace down the Eagles' left. Quickly throw in onto Mark Guay. Plays it back this time to Joachim Andersen. Now Guay picks it up inside the Palace half. And he plays it forward, but the ball runs through to the Manchester City goalkeeper, that is Ederson. Now Rodri, he brings it forward for Manchester City. Out to Jack Grealish. Now Nathan Ake. Into the centre circle to Ruben Diaz. Kyle Walker plays it forward. Now Phil Foden out to the Manchester City right. Bernardo Silva in the area. Now back to Walker, who tried to float it in, and Crystal Palace can now clear their lines. Now Ruben Diaz to Nathan Ake on the halfway line. Out to Kyle Walker down the Manchester City right. Ruben Diaz midway inside the Crystal Palace half onto Jack Grealish, who goes down under a challenge and wins his side a free kick, but the advantage is given by the referee. So it's with Kyle Walker back to Grealish, who has overcome a knock for today's clash. To Gvardiol. Now Rodri. He plays the ball forward this time onto Julian Alvarez, who takes up Erling Haaland's position for today's clash. Haaland with an injury. Played forward by Walker onto Bernardo Silva. Silva plays it onto Walker. His low ball is found. Ruben Diaz with the effort, and it's not far away from Dean Henderson's goal, but a first-sighter for the home side in the opening 10 minutes. It was a nice ball back to Bernardo Silva to pick out Walker, and then Ruben Diaz struck it rather venomously with his right boot, and it goes wide of that Crystal Palace right-hand post. So the opening 10 minutes gone. It's Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 0. As the ball is headed on by Jeff Slurp. Now played up in the air by Joel Ward this time. Michael Elise battling for it with the Croat, that is Jose Gvardiol. Now Nathaniel Klein. He plays the ball downfield, and it will be a throw into Crystal Palace inside the City half from the Eagles' right. Klein takes it. Now Olise plays the ball back to Joachim Andersen inside the Palace half. Andersen plays it forward, but the ball is given away. Now Rico Lewis infield to Rodri, goes for goal, and his effort is taken from around 19 yards out, and his right-footed shot drifts wide of the Palace goal. But it was nice play by Rico Lewis to pick out the Manchester City midfield talisman, that is Rodri. Who has been instrumental for Pep Guardiola's side. They are in fact 44 games unbeaten when Rodri does play with the only game City have suffered defeat with him in the side is against Spurs back in February. Now Jeff Slupp, and the ball goes out for a Manchester City throw-in down their right, midway inside their half. Quickly taken. Now on to Nathan Ake. He plays it out to Ruben Diaz, his fellow centre-back partner for today's encounter. Phil Foden in the field. Now Ruben Diaz back to the Netherlands international, that is Nathan Ake. Back to Ruben Diaz. He brings it forward over the halfway line. All bodies back there for Crystal Palace, making it very difficult in these early stages for Pep Guardiola's men. The ball this time is played out by Bernardo Silva, and it will be a throw-in to Crystal Palace just short of the corner flag down the Eagles' left. 12 minutes gone, Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 0. Tyrick Mitchell with the throw-in. Quickly taken, headed down by Rico Lewis, and now played all the way back to Nathan Ake. Now Ederson comes out of his area and plays it on to Ruben Diaz. Kyle Walker back to the Portugal central defender. Now forward to Julian Alvarez. Space for Gvardiol. He gives the ball straight to Joachim Andersen. Now Michael Olise looks for a way out. He plays the ball back to Nathaniel Klein. The experienced fullback plays it into the path of Michael Olise, who gives the ball away straight to Rico Lewis. Now Ruben Diaz in the centre circle. Out to the left to Nathan Ake. Touch for Jack Grealish. Now Diaz again. He brings it over the halfway line to Rodri. The Madrid-born midfielder has it back. Now into the path of Phil Foden, and the ball runs through to the former Manchester United goalkeeper, that is Dean Henderson. Henderson, who has in fact recovered from a thigh injury to start today's encounter, and of course Crystal Palace without another former Manchester United goalkeeper in Sam Johnston. Meanwhile, Palace bring it forward over the halfway line. Jeff Slupp all the way back this time to Mark Guay. Now on to Joachim Andersen, who fires it downfield, but there's nobody there, and it's picked up by Jose Gvardiol, and then he plays it on to Ederson. Now Ruben Diaz. Diaz brings the ball out from the back on his right foot. Now back on to Nathan Ake. Jack Grealish looks to start a City counter-attack. Offloads it to Phil Foden, who's crowded out this time. Jairo Riedwald on to Nathaniel Klein, who chips it forward but gives the ball away. Now Gvardiol on to Kyle Walker. Quarter of an hour gone at the Etihad, and it remains Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 0. Ruben Diaz. Diaz still has it and plays it out to the City right to Bernardo Silva on the edge of the 18-yard box. Ball is played across, and somehow inside the area it flashes wide of that right-hand Crystal Palace post. But that was the best opportunity so far for Manchester City. The ball was picked up by Bernardo Silva, and then he played it into the path of Rico Lewis inside the area, who cut it back, and it was Rodri whose right-footed effort found Foden, and it drifts wide. Corner to City, which is taken. Now it's dealt with by Palace at the back, and it goes out for a throw-in to the Sky Blues. Foden takes it down the City right inside the Palace half. Now Kyle Walker onto Rodri. He chips it out to the left this time to pick out Josep Gvardiol. Gvardiol all the way back to Nathan Ake. Now it's Kyle Walker. He fizzes it out to the right. Bernardo Silva up against Tyrick Mitchell. He cuts it across centrally on the 18-yard box, and then it's headed down following a Palace clearance by Nathan Ake. Now Nathaniel Klein has it. He floats it forward and again gives the ball away. City come forward with Rico Lewis. It's all Manchester City as expected in these first 17 minutes. Bernardo Silva. He plays it out to Kyle Walker inside the area and cleared away by Mark Guay. Throw into City down their right. Quickly taken by Bernardo Silva. On to Ruben Diaz. Silva gets the ball back from his fellow countryman. Now centrally back to Ruben Diaz. Now Bernardo Silva again. He chips it into the area and it's headed away by Mark Guay and then played out for a throw-in by Tyrick Mitchell. Quickly taken by City. Now Bernardo Silva twisting and turning and delivers it into the area. Headed up in the air by Joel Ward. Still not away. Now Jeff Schlupp clears his lines. Anywhere will do momentarily for Crystal Palace. Guardiola chases it down on the touchline. Throw-in is quickly taken by Ruben Diaz. Diaz has it inside the Manchester City half. Offloads it to Kyle Walker, who plays the ball forward looking to pick out Phil Foden, but it runs through rather comfortably to Dean Henderson. So the ball is with the Crystal Palace goalkeeper. Henderson kicks it long, but it's straight to Gvardiol. Now picked up by Ruben Diaz. Diaz fires it out to the left. Now it's with Nathan Ake. All the way back to the Netherlands international. Now Rodri turns. He offloads it to Jack Grealish, who chips it into the area. Dealt with though by Joachim Andersen. Headed down by Rodri again. City once again applying the pressure in the final third. The ball is played out to the right to Bernardo Silva. Silva still has it. Offloads it this time to Kyle Walker. Now Bernardo Silva infield to Phil Foden. He plays it on to Rodri. Jack Grealish is crowded out by Joachim Andersen. Flicked through onto Rico Lewis by Rodri. Now Ruben Diaz back onto Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish on the turn. He gives the ball away, but it's picked up by Nathan Ake. Ake brings it forward and offloads it to Gvardiol. A chance for a cross, but he plays it on to Kyle Walker centrally. Walker this time gives the ball away, and Palace look to bring it out. Nice play by Jeff Schlupp. Now all the way back to Joachim Andersen. Joel Ward sends it forward. He gives the ball away. Picked up by Rodri. Now Rodri gives the ball away. Michael Olise on the attack. He brings it forward. Olise going alone. Now he offloads it out to the left to Jeff Schlupp. Just outside the 18-yard box. Schlupp goes for goal, and it's quickly deflected into the path of a Manchester City body. Rodri has it. Now he plays it over the halfway and out down the City right to Bernardo Silva. Silva up against Jeff Schlupp. Now brings it infield. Offloads it to Rico Lewis. Now Rodri has it. Rodri chips it inside the area. Headed away though by Mark Guay. backed up once again by Mark Guay. He goes down under a challenge. Nothing given, and a free kick this time for a foul by Guay on Phil Foden. So City quickly take the free kick. Rodri. Now he offloads it to Jack Grealish. Grealish has got Guardiola out to the left. He picks out Guardiola's cross. Is easily dealt with by Joachim Andersen. Now Palace again come forward with Michael Elise, who puts the ball out for a Manchester City throw-in. 21 minutes gone though, and it's Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 0. Ball is offloaded to Rodri. He plays it out to the right to Bernardo Silva, who looks to counter. Silva on the right hand side of the Palace 18-yard box. He plays it out to Kyle Walker this time. Now it's infield to Bernardo Silva again. Kyle Walker has it. He chips it centrally to Ruben Diaz. Diaz this time out to Jack Grealish. Fails to control it first time, but picks the ball up. That is the England international Grealish. Now Nathan Ake out to the left. Gvardiol back to Nathan Ake. Now Ruben Diaz. Foden onto Rodri. Rodri thought about going for goal and then offloads it this time to Nathan Ake, who does go for goal, but his effort is easily charged down by Joel Ward. Picked up by Jack Grealish. Now Ruben Diaz. Diaz into the path of Phil Foden, and Jack Grealish inside the area. Manchester City have lift off inside 23 minutes. Jack Grealish from inside the 18-yard box gives Pep Guardiola's side the lead. It's Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 0. It was nice build-up play though by Manchester City. Palace failed to deal with it inside the area, and it presented the opportunity for Grealish to find the bottom left-hand corner of Dean Henderson's goal. The ball was played through by Phil Foden, and it remains to be seen whether Jack Grealish will be deemed onside by VAR, but Ruben Diaz picked out Foden on the edge of the area, who floated the ball through to Jack Grealish inside the 18-yard box, and Grealish's right-hand finish low into the left-hand corner of the Palace net makes it Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 0. VAR will no doubt check this, but it remains to be seen whether Jack Grealish was onside. Was Nathaniel Klein's left boot played Grealish onside? Does look as though Grealish's left boot is in an offside position, but it remains to be seen what the VAR do award here. Mark Guay in conversation with Kyle Walker down below. Paul Tierney, the official in charge of today's encounter, and VAR are just checking this potential offside. Paul Tierney is receiving instructions in his ear momentarily. Kyle Walker alongside the Premier League official. The lines are yet to be drawn on the screen as Pep Guardiola watches on, and the lines have been drawn, and Jack Grealish is onside. So Manchester City lead. The goal does stand, and Jack Grealish on his return to the first team gives Manchester City a lead inside 26 minutes. It's Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 0. Now play resumes. Ball is back with Mark Guay. Guay this time looks to find a way out. Played forward by Joachim Andersen. Ball is given away. Guay manages to pick the ball up and is then fouled. And it will be a free kick to Crystal Palace inside their half rather centrally. Ball this time is with Ederson inside the Manchester City 18-yard box. Now thrown out to Nathan Ake. Ruben Diaz has it. Now Kyle Walker. On to Ruben Diaz. City going in search of that second goal. The ball is given away this time by Rico Lewis straight to Michael Olise, who gets the ball back. Olise plays it forward. And Jean-Philippe Mateta is offside. It will be a free kick to Manchester City inside the Sky Blues half. Quickly taken. Now Kyle Walker. On to Ruben Diaz. Diaz over the halfway line and then gets the ball back. Now it's chipped forward over the top. An opportunity now, saved by Dean Henderson. The ball broke through to Josko Gvardiol and his effort was saved rather comfortably by Dean Henderson. Now Man City come forward again inside the Palace half. The ball is with Kyle Walker centrally. Now on to Rodri. Rodri this time onto Ruben Diaz. Played forward into the path of Phil Foden. Now Nathan Ake. Ake once again. Onto Ruben Diaz. Diaz out to the right onto the right boot of Bernardo Silva. Now Rico Lewis back to Silva. The ball is given away by Ruben Diaz this time. Again, Crystal Palace give the ball away. Now it's all the way back to the Manchester City goalkeeper Ederson. Kyle Walker has it. He brings it forward over the halfway line onto Rico Lewis. Now Lewis out to his left to Ruben Diaz inside the centre circle. He plays it out to his right to Kyle Walker. Now chipped out to the left to Josko Gvardiol. Gvardiol up against Nathaniel Klein out to the left. He gives the ball away straight to Michael Olise. Now Mateta. Chris Richards onto Nathaniel Klein. Chipped forward by the experienced Stockwell-born fullback. Throw in on the far side to Crystal Palace down their right-hand side inside the Eagles' half. That was a great opportunity for Josko Gvardiol. The ball was chipped forward over the top by Ruben Diaz and chested down inside the area, only for Gvardiol's left-footed effort cannoning off the chest of Dean Henderson. Throw-in is taken by Palace. Now all the way back to Henderson. He clears his lines this time. Now played forward by Mark Guay. Half an hour gone at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 0. Ederson picks the ball up around 5 yards out of his 18-yard box. Now the ball is played forward by Ruben Diaz onto Bernardo Silva. Silva down the City right, infield to Kyle Walker. Now Ruben Diaz has it centrally. He plays it out to his left to Nathan Ake, who's alongside him. Now Jack Grealish plays it out to the left to Gvardiol. Grealish back to Ake. Now Ruben Diaz. Diaz on to Grealish. City seeing plenty of the ball in this first half an hour. Now Ederson. And a free kick has been awarded to Manchester City from the left-hand side. A advantage was initially played by Paul Tierney, but the official has decided it will be a free kick to Manchester City. So an opportunity from the set piece. Both Julian Alvarez and Bernardo Silva standing over it. It is Bernardo Silva to take it. It's inside the area, headed up in the air inside the 18-yard box, and it goes out for a Palace goal kick. It was Nathan Ake, the man who got his head to it. Now it looks as though Crystal Palace will be forced into an early change, so Joel Ward has handed the captain's armband over to Mark Guay, and Palace will in fact make a change very shortly, so Joel Ward unable to continue. We're going to see David Ozzo momentarily as Dean Henderson takes this goal kick. Now Ruben Diaz plays the ball forward, helped on by Rodri. Mark Guay all the way back this time to Dean Henderson, who plays it short to Joachim Andersen. Mark Guay plays the ball downfield, looking to pick out Jean-Philippe Mateta, and the ball goes out for a Manchester City throw-in. Kyle Walker takes it all the way back to Ederson. Now on to Nathan Ake. On to Ruben Diaz. Diaz plays it forward to Jack Grealish. Grealish now on to Josko Gvardiol. Now Nathan Ake. Ruben Diaz picks it up rather centrally midway inside the Palace half. He plays it back on to his fellow centre-back Nathan Ake. Now played out to the right to Bernardo Silva. City looking to double their lead. Now Kyle Walker. Back to Silva down the City right. He floats it in from the right hand side of the 18-yard box. It's picked out. Gvardiol, who goes for goal, and it's side netting and goes out for a Palace goal kick. The ball was floated in from Bernardo Silva, and City believe Henderson got a touch to it. Gvardiol's effort from the left-hand side of the area, and Henderson did in fact get a touch to it. City with the corner, and header by Rico Lewis, and the ball is parried clear by Henderson. Now Foden inside the area. Now out to centrally to Kyle Walker. Back to Foden. Silva on the right hand side of the Palace area. Plays it centrally to Kyle Walker. Now Jack Grealish. Grealish on to Walker again. Walker goes for goal this time, and his effort is blocked inside the area and brought out by Jeff Schlupp onto Michael Elise. Elise all the way back this time. Tyrick Mitchell down the Palace left. He plays it back onto Mark Guay. Now Dean Henderson out to Joachim Andersen. Will be a throw-in to Manchester City down their left. Quickly taken. Now Nathan Ake. Ruben Diaz plays it forward into the path of Jack Grealish. The Manchester City goal scorer out to the left to Josko Gvardiol. Back to Grealish. Now Rodri. He picks up the loose ball. Ruben Diaz. Now Nathan Ake onto Phil Foden. Ruben Diaz fires it out to the right to Bernardo Silva. Now Kyle Walker centrally midway inside the Palace half. Out to Rodri. Now Gvardiol floats it in from the left-hand side of the 18-yard box. Picked up by Jack Grealish. Now Kyle Walker out to the right. Bernardo Silva picks the ball up. He plays it back to Kyle Walker. Now Ruben Diaz centrally. All bodies back in there for Crystal Palace, making it very difficult for Manchester City. Rico Lewis back to Ruben Diaz. Now Kyle Walker. Walker plays it on to Diaz again. Now Rico Lewis. He gives the ball away, but somehow it finds the right-hand boot of Kyle Walker. Now Bernardo Silva chips it into the chest of Ruben Diaz. Diaz onto Kyle Walker. Diaz went down under a challenge from Mateta, but play continues. Now Phil Foden. On to Walker. Now Phil Foden. Palace did eventually make their change, but it was rather quick one. City come forward from the left-hand side of the Palace area. The ball is half cleared, and then a free kick this time to Manchester City, and a yellow card is shown to Joachim Andersen. So a free kick for a foul on Nathan Ake, and an opportunity now for Manchester City from the left-hand side of the Crystal Palace 18-yard box. Joel Ward making way for David Ozo, who has in fact already made 3 appearances for Crystal Palace this campaign, the 18-year-old. So a 2-man wall for the Eagles. Joachim Andersen and Chris Richards. As Dean Henderson barks instructions towards the Palace duo. Both Julian Alvarez and Bernardo Silva standing over it. Looks as though it will be Bernardo Silva to take it. Silva does take it, chips it into the area, headed away by Chris Richards. Now City win it back. Phil Foden goes for goal, and it wasn't far away. It was wide of the Palace left-hand post from around 24 yards out. The ball was chipped in by Bernardo Silva, and Josko Gvardiol played it on to Phil Foden, whose left-footed effort drifts wide of that Palace left-hand post. So goal kick to Crystal Palace. Now Tyrick Mitchell onto Mark Guay. Joachim Andersen. Ozo, the 18-year-old Spanish-born youngster plays the ball long. Joachim Andersen back to Ozo. Now Palace come forward down their right with Nathaniel Klein. Klein's attempted pass onto Michael Olise goes out for a Palace throw in midway inside the City half down the Palace right. Now Joachim Andersen onto Mark Guay. Guay this time floats it out to the right hand side, kept in by Klein. Now the ball is played forward onto Mateta, who goes down, and the referee awards a yellow card to the onrushing Ederson, who came out of his goal to try and deceive Mateta, who went down under a challenge from the Brazilian goalkeeper Ederson. So yellow card for the Manchester City goalkeeper. Mateta clearly first to the ball. So it will be a free kick to Crystal Palace, and a rare opportunity for the Eagles to get the ball into the mix. 3 minutes of normal time to go, and Manchester City still leading Crystal Palace by 1-0. Mark Guay, meanwhile, deep in conversation with Paul Chieni, the official. Ederson gives instructions to his Manchester City wall. But an opportunity now for Michael Olise from the right-hand side of the City 18-yard box. Around 20 yards out. The Frenchman standing over it. Olise takes up over the cheek, steps up to take it. Michael Olise, and it's over the crossbar and goes out for a Manchester City goal kick. First real opportunity that for Crystal Palace to test the Manchester City goal. Now the ball is brought forward by Rodri. He chips it over the halfway line to Jack Grealish, picked up by Nathan Ake. Now Ruben Diaz. Diaz onto Rodri. Now onto Nathan Ake. Ruben Diaz plays it forward into the path of Jack Grealish. Now Kyle Walker. Bernardo Silva down the Manchester City right. Now centrally to Kyle Walker. Ruben Diaz has it. Now he plays it over to the left to Rodri. He's got Guardiola alongside him. Rodri to Nathan Ake. Ake to Ruben Diaz. Diaz looked to be lining a shot at goal. Instead, he plays it out down the right to Bernardo Silva. Now Rico Lewis. He's dispossessed though by Mark Guay, and then it's played out by Tyrick Mitchell and out for a Manchester City throw in. Quickly taken. Now Ruben Diaz. There'll be 5 minutes of additional time signalled for that lengthy VAR check, which eventually put Manchester City 1 goal to the good following Jack Grealish's goal. Now the home side come forward. Jack Grealish has it. Down the Manchester City right, offloads it to Bernardo Silva. Now on to Ruben Diaz, picked up by Nathan Ake. On to Julian Alvarez. Now out to the right to Bernardo Silva, who looked to pick out Jack Grealish from the right-hand side of the area, and it's cleared away by Mark Guay. City again, though, managed to win the ball back. Now Rodri. On to Josko Gvardiol, who floats it into the Crystal Palace area, headed up by Joachim Andersen. And he goes down under a challenge, and it will be a free kick to Crystal Palace from the right-hand side of their corner flag. Foul this time by Julian Alvarez. So as things stand, Manchester City will leapfrog both Aston Villa and Arsenal into second place, 1 point behind the league leaders Liverpool. But of course, Arsenal and Aston Villa in action tomorrow afternoon. Ball is brought down by Mark Guay, chipped forward into the path of Michael Olise, but out comes Ederson to clear his lines to Gvardiol. Now it's on. He brings it forward in the Crystal Palace half. Kyle Walker has it down the Manchester City right, deep inside the Eagles' final third, but it's picked up by Jean-Philippe Mateta. Now played out to the right to Michael Olise, who goes down under a challenge from Gvardiol and wins his side a free kick. So a free kick to Crystal Palace from the right-hand side, midway inside the Manchester City half. We have played 3 of the 5 additional minutes, but an opportunity again for Michael Olise to deliver the ball into the Manchester City penalty area. He does just that, and the ball is headed down by Bernardo Silva. Now Joachim Andersen. It will be a corner to Crystal Palace. Last touch off Bernardo Silva. So a corner to Palace from the left-hand side, to be taken by Michael Olise. Ball is whipped into the area, headed away by Kyle Walker, but straight to Nathaniel Klein. Klein looks to deliver it inside the area, but his attempted pass is cleared away by Phil Foden. Now picked up by Dean Henderson inside the Palace half. On to Tyrick Mitchell. Dean Henderson has it now. He plays the ball forward on towards Jean-Philippe Mateta, but the ball runs through to the onrushing sweeper keeper, that is Manchester City's Ederson. Now Jack Grealish has it inside the City half. Over the halfway line to Rodri. Now Ruben Diaz. Diaz inside the centre circle. He plays the ball forward, and Dean Henderson clears his lines. Headed down this time by Kyle Walker, and the ball runs out for a Palace throw in on the halfway line from the left. Mark Guay now on to his fellow defender, and the referee draws a close to the end of the first half. So at the break on match day 17 between Manchester City and Crystal Palace, it is the home side that lead at the break. Jack Grealish, his goal separating both sides. Half-time score, Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 0. Welcome back to the clash between Manchester City and Crystal Palace, and it is the home side who lead by a 0-0 going into the second 45 minutes. Crystal Palace have it all to do in this second half if they are to emerge with something to take back to London this evening. Will of course be a fourth consecutive defeat for Roy Hodgson's side should they lose today's encounter, something that they haven't managed since they did so back in March. The Manchester City players now emerge from the tunnel at the Etihad Stadium. Pep Guardiola's had plenty of opportunity to talk to his players, and he will be remaining hopeful that his side can double their advantage early in the second half. Jack Grealish's goal, the difference so far. But it's not just the goals which Guardiola will be hopeful. He will also want a clean sheet today, given that City haven't managed a clean sheet across all competitions in their last 7 matches. So Phil Foden to get the game back underway. And we are back underway at the Etihad. And of course, we do have to mention that this is not an official Premier League live audio commentary. You are in fact listening to Flash Score, bringing you the live updates of the clash between Manchester City and Crystal Palace on matchday 17 of the Premier League 2023-4 campaign. Manchester City come forward with Nathan Ake. He offloads it out to Julian Alvarez down the Manchester City left. Now Gvardiol back in field to Ake. Ruben Dias centrally, around 24 yards out from the Crystal Palace 18-yard box. Now Rodri chips it out to the left to Gvardiol. Gvardiol up against Nathaniel Klein. Alvarez now. Rodri onto Ake. Ake plays it on to Jack Grealish. Now picked up by Rodri. He plays the ball back into the centre towards Ruben Dias. Now Kyle Walker. Walker fizzes the ball out to the right to Bernardo Silva. Silva twists and turns and then lays it back to his fellow countryman Ruben Dias. Now Kyle Walker plays the ball all the way back to Ederson. So an opportunity for Pep Guardiola's side to regroup. Now Rodri has it inside the City half. He plays it out to the right to Nathan Ake. Ake brings it over the halfway. Foden back this time to Ruben Dias. Ruben Dias chips it forward, and the ball is headed away by Nathaniel Klein. Ozo battling with it, the Crystal Palace 18-year-old. But an opportunity now for Michael Olise down the Palace right. He's up against Josko Gvardiol all alone. Olise does well to win his side a throw-in down the Palace right, midway inside the Manchester City half. Klein takes it on to Chris Richards. Now Joachim Andersen. Mark Guay centrally over the halfway line. He chips it forward towards Michael Elise, but the ball runs through to the Manchester City goalkeeper Ederson. Now Ruben Diaz, he brings it out from the back. Over the halfway line out to the left to Gvardiol. The Croatia international back to Ruben Diaz. Now Rodri over the halfway line for Manchester City. He plays it out to the right to Kyle Walker. Now on to Nathan Ake, into the feet of Phil Foden. Challenge in there though by Tyrick Mitchell. Kyle Walker I should say, onto Foden. Foden centrally. He lays the ball off this time to Nathan Ake. Now Jack Grealish centrally for Manchester City. The goal scorer plays it out to the right to Rodri. Now Bernardo Silva. Rodri back to the Manchester City winger. The ball is headed away inside the area by Nathaniel Klein. Brought out by Michael Elise. Now back to Klein, who plays it downfield. Chested down by Mateta. Now headed down by the Palace striker. Back to Mateta. Down the Palace right. He's up against Nathan Ake. Lays the ball off to Michael Elise. Elise fires it now out to the left. And now Palace come forward down their left. The ball is floated into the area and it's headed away at the back there by Ruben Diaz. Now Rodri brings it out from the Manchester City 18-yard box onto Bernardo Silva. Silva out down to the City left to Gvardiol. He offloads it this time to Gvardiol, and then the ball goes out for a Manchester City throw-in down their left inside the Palace half. Gvardiol takes the throw-in onto Rodri. Now Ruben Diaz helps it on. Kyle Walker has it. Back to Ruben Diaz. Diaz this time down the City right to Bernardo Silva. On to Kyle Walker. Walker picks out Ruben Diaz. Diaz brings it forward again. Offloads it to Nathan Ake. Now Jack Grealish. Grealish on to Nathan Ake. And there is what looks to be a free kick to Manchester City for a foul on Jack Grealish. So an opportunity now for Manchester City to float the ball into the area, as Fernandinho watches on from the stands, the former Manchester City midfielder. An opportunity though now for the home side from the free kick from the left hand side of the Palace area. Julian Alvarez and Bernardo Silva stands over it. Alvarez this time, it's all the way in. Alvarez from the free kick doubles Manchester City's advantage. It was a lovely double, a lovely dummy inside the area, and Julian Alvarez turns away in celebration, but the goal in fact has been ruled out for an offside. Which is in fact the correct call, because as Alvarez's ball was played into the area, it was Rodri who ducked under the ball, and Alvarez's free kick found the net, but an offside has been given, and rightly so, because it caught Dean Henderson off guard, and he wouldn't have been blocked the view of the Crystal Palace goalkeeper. So the score remains Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 0. 53 minutes gone at the Etihad. Ball is played forward into the path of Phil Foden. Now Kyle Walker. On to Ruben Diaz. Diaz out to Julian Alvarez. Now Jack Grealish. Grealish brings it infield. Ball is inside the Palace area. Not away, and it is now 2-0. Rico Lewis, the player who's got it. Manchester City double their lead, and this time it will count. The ball found the Manchester City youngster inside the 18-yard box, and he fired it into the right-hand corner beyond Dean Henderson and into the back of the Crystal Palace goal. And City now are 2 goals to the good. Grealish, his ball found its way into the area via a Rodri deflection, and the right-footed effort from Rico Lewis found the right-hand corner of the Crystal Palace net, and it is Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 0. So the Eagles now have it all to do if they're to find their way back into this contest. There is a VAR check momentarily for a potential offside involving Rico Lewis. And the goal will stand, so Manchester City lead Crystal Palace by 2 goals to 0. Now Nathaniel Klein. The ball is played all the way back by Michael Elise onto Chris Richards, and now Dean Henderson, and his attempted ball is played out by the former Manchester United goalkeeper. Throw into Manchester City. Nathan Ake onto Ruben Diaz centrally. Diaz now out to the right, onto Bernardo Silva. Picked up again by Ruben Diaz. Now Kyle Walker onto Bernardo Silva down the Manchester City right inside the Crystal Palace half. Now Ruben Diaz has it inside the centre circle onto Rodri, who brings it in onto his right foot and then fires it out to the City right-hand side on the edge of the 18-yard box. The ball is played onto the edge of the area, crossed in out to the left. City going in search of that 3rd goal. Ball is played out to the Manchester City right. Pep Guardiola's side, his tails are certainly up after that 2nd goal. It will be a corner to the home side from the right. And an opportunity now for Julian Alvarez to cross the ball into the area. 57 minutes gone, and Manchester City lead Crystal Palace by 2 goals to 0. Corner to the home side from the right. Alvarez takes it into the area, and the ball was headed on in the end straight into the arms of Dean Henderson from Josko Gvardiol. So a opportunity now for Henderson to play the ball downfield. Henderson kicks long deep inside the City half, headed on by Kyle Walker. Now Michael Olise goes down under a challenge and wins Crystal Palace a free kick rather centrally from around 23 yards out. Foul by the Croatia international Gvardiol. So an opportunity for the away side to try and test the Manchester City goalkeeper Ederson. It looks as though it will be Michael Olise to deliver the ball into the area. Can Palace narrow the deficit? Olise standing over it. His left-footed effort doesn't beat the Manchester City back line. Now Palace look to bring it forward again. Played down by Nathaniel Clyne. The ball is given away by Olise this time. Phil Foden wins his side a free kick inside the centre circle and goes down under a challenge from Jairo Riedwald, the Crystal Palace midfielder formerly of Ajax. So half an hour to go, and Manchester City so far easing their way to victory over Crystal Palace. Rico Lewis now on to Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's ball centrally finds Ruben Diaz. Now all the way back to Nathan Ake. Ruben Diaz in the centre circle over the halfway line inside the Palace half. The ball is floated out to Foden down the Manchester City right. The ball then goes out for a throw into the home side inside the Palace half from the right. Throw-in is quickly taken. Ball is held up and won back by Bernardo Silva. Now Ruben Diaz on to Bernardo Silva. Diaz out to Kyle Walker down the City right. Chip forward this time by the Portugal centre-back. Dean Henderson this time has it and plays it downfield, looking to pick out Jean-Philippe Mateta. Instead, it's found Nathan Ake onto Gvardiol, who plays it forward onto Julian Alvarez. Jack Grealish. Grealish onto Alvarez. Now Ruben Diaz. He floats it out to the right to Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side of the Palace 18-yard box. He loops it into the path of Kyle Walker, who dwells on it, and it will be a throw-in to Crystal Palace down the away side's left-hand side. So throw-in to Crystal Palace. Throw-in is taken. The ball is recovered by Manchester City. Now Kyle Walker on to Nathan Ake. Ake in the centre circle on to Rodri. Rodri is looking for options. He plays it back to Nathan Ake. Now Jack Grealish. Back to the Netherlands international. Foden on the turn. Hit by Silva. It wasn't far away. And that's a good save by Dean Henderson, who has gone down inside the area, and it was a nice hit by Bernardo Silva on the edge of the Palace 18-yard box from the right-hand side, and Silva's left-footed effort was expertly saved by the right hand of Dean Henderson, who has gone down and is requiring some treatment. Rico Lewis, the second Manchester City goal scorer. So both Jack Grealish and the Manchester-born youngster on the score sheet this afternoon. Meanwhile, Dean Henderson is back to his feet, so he can continue. Corner though to Manchester City will be taken by Julian Alvarez from the left-hand side. The Argentina international delivers, headed away by the Palace youngster Ozo at the back, but picked up by Phil Foden. Now Kyle Walker centrally to Rico Lewis. Out to the left to Gvardiol, who's got Alvarez out to the left alongside him. Instead he gives it back to Lewis. Now Rodri. On to Kyle Walker. Now Nathan Ake. Ake picks out Jack Grealish. Grealish now on to Ruben Diaz. The ball is offloaded by Foden, but picked up by Crystal Palace, and it will be a free kick to the away side. A foul this time by Jack Grealish on Michael Olise. Olise plays the ball back to the Palace defence. Chris Richards this time on to Dean Henderson. Now Joachim Anderson. Anderson looks to bring it forward. He plays it on to Nathaniel Klein. Klein out to Michael Olise. Nice play by Olise. Palace come forward down their right. Olise's all alone up against Rodri. Olise inside the area, and Rodri did well to get back to dispossess the Crystal Palace winger. Now Rico Lewis all the way back to his goalkeeper Ederson. Ake this time on to his fellow central defender Ruben Diaz. Kyle Walker has it. On to Diaz once again. He brings it forward and plays it over the halfway line to Rico Lewis. Now Phil Foden plays it back to Nathan Ake. Diaz has it once again. He plays it out to Bernardo Silva down the Manchester City right, deep inside the Crystal Palace half. 2 banks of 5 though for the Eagles, making it difficult for Manchester City to come forward. Ruben Diaz on to Nathan Ake in the centre circle. He plays it rather centrally to Julian Alvarez. Helped on by Jack Grealish to Gvardiol. Now picked up once again by Alvarez, who is deputising for Erling Haaland following the latter's injury. The ball is floated inside the Palace area, still not away. Jack Grealish has it inside from the left. The ball's broke to Nathan Ake, and his effort takes the deflection back off the Manchester City defender, and it goes out for a Palace goal kick. So 23 minutes left to go, and Manchester City still leading Crystal Palace by 2-0. Ball is kicked along by Dean Henderson. Headed down and played on by Rydweld. Now Jack Grealish has it. He comes forward on his right foot down the Manchester City left, offloads it to Gvardiol. Gvardiol cuts inside and then gives the ball away, and then Palace gift it back to Manchester City. Now Rodri on his right foot. Pep Guardiola opts to take a seat back in his chair in the dugout. Nathaniel Klein with the throw in down the Palace right inside the away side's half. Straight out, and then a throw in this time to Manchester City, which is quickly taken. Now Kyle Walker over the halfway line. On to Rico Lewis. Now Jack Grealish down the City left. Back to Nathan Ake. On to Ruben Diaz. Now Rodri. He floats it out to the City right and manages to pick out Bernardo Silva, who's up against Tyrick Mitchell. Cuts the ball back to Walker. Now Diaz on the edge of the 18-yard box. Instead, Walker crosses it from the right-hand side of the 18-yard box, and it's recovered by Jack Grealish. Down the left hand by the corner flag. Now Gvardiol. Back on to Jack Grealish. Played forward onto Alvarez. Now Ruben Diaz. Picked up by Bernardo Silva. Out to the right to Kyle Walker. Walker on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, I should say, of the Crystal Palace 18-yard box. Now Rodri centrally chips it into the area, looking to pick out Rico Lewis. Now Bernardo Silva on the edge of the area to Kyle Walker. Nathan Ake has it centrally. Out to Grealish on the left. Now Grealish plays it back into the path of Ruben Diaz. Out to the right onto Bernardo Silva. Silva up against Mitchell once again. Now back to Kyle Walker. Centrally to Rodri, who looked to chip the ball in, and Mateta looked to win the ball back. City recover the ball, however. Ake plays it forward onto Ruben Diaz. Now out to Bernardo Silva down the right. Lewis has it. Now Rodri on to Nathan Ake. 19 minutes to play. City still leading by 2-0 against Crystal Palace. Now Rodri. Rodri plays it out to the right to Bernardo Silva. Silva flicks it on and the ball is fizzed in, and it's dealt with at the back by the away side. Now Mateta, he helps the ball on to Nathaniel Klein. Klein, this time all alone, and plays it on to Mateta. Now Michael Elise. He latches onto it before Nathan Ake can win it back. He plays it on to Ozo. Palace come forward down their right-hand side. Ozo has it. He plays it in the centre to Joachim Andersen. Now Riedwald. Back to Andersen. The ball was played forward by Andersen, and now Man City come forward. Julian Alvarez has it. He gives the ball away this time. Michael Elise inside the Palace half. Elise looking for a way out. He plays it out to the left to Tyrick Mitchell. Now Joachim Andersen. Back to Mitchell. Mark Guay has it. Elise now. Andersen Forward onto Gueye. Gueye gives the ball away, and it will be a free kick though to Crystal Palace. So just over a quarter of an hour to go at the Etihad Stadium. Can Crystal Palace find a goal and narrow the deficit? Chris Richards has it inside the Palace half. He drifts the ball forward, but it's a wasteful one and it runs through to Nathan Ake. So picked up by the Netherlands international, who walks forward with the ball and then offloads it to Rodri. Rodri this time plays it downfield but straight into the gloves of Dean Henderson. Now Ridewell for Palace. Played back this time by Chris Richards. Fired long but only straight to Rodri. And Rodri gives the ball away this time and it runs out for a Palace goal kick. Roy Hodgson thinking about ready or not he's potentially going to make a few changes. Ball is played long by Dean Henderson. Now Joachim Andersen back to his goalkeeper. The ball is with Dean Henderson inside the Palace 18-yard box. He rolls it out to the Palace skipper Mark Gueye. Played forward into the path of Mateta. Held up rather nicely by the Palace striker. Now Gueye sends it forward. An opportunity now for Jeff Schlupp inside the area. Schlupp into Mateta, and Palace do have a goal back. 15 minutes to go, and Crystal Palace have scored through Jean-Philippe Mateta. It's a nice ball float, the City 18-yard box, and he pulled the ball across the edge of the area, and it found the feet of Jean-Philippe Mateta, who diverted it into the back of the open net from around 2 yards out. The left-footed cut across from Jeff Schlupp found Mateta, and he certainly couldn't miss from 2 yards out. And Palace have managed to find a goal back, so it's Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 1. Now City have it inside the centre circle. That Palace goal may have just breathed a new sign of life into Roy Hodgson's side. Meanwhile, City come forward down their right with Bernardo Silva. They're going in search of a third goal and looking to restore their 2-goal advantage. Tyrick Mitchell plays the ball out for a throw-in to Manchester City. Throw-in is quickly taken, picked up by Rodri centrally. He plays it out to the left. Now Gvardiol plays it all the way back to Nathan Ake. Rodri onto Ruben Diaz. Diaz has it inside the Crystal Palace half. Bodies back once again for the Eagles. Rico Lewis plays it onto Phil Foden. Now it's back with Palace and Michael Olise. Picked up by Chris Richards. He plays it on to Dean Henderson. Now Joachim Andersen. Out to Nathaniel Clee. Palace right. Back to Chris Richards. Now Henderson clears his lines, but it's straight to Josko Gvardiol. Now Nathan Ake on to Gvardiol. Picked up once again by the Dutchman, that is Nathan Ake. On to Ruben Diaz. Now Kyle Walker. Nathan Ake back to Ruben Diaz. Now floated out to the right to Bernardo Silva down the Manchester City right. Now Ruben Diaz has it again. Played back to him from Julian Alvarez, who turns and offloads this time to Jack Grealish. 12 minutes of normal time left to play. City leading Crystal Palace by 2-1. Ruben Diaz rather centrally inside the Crystal Palace half. He plays it out to Bernardo Silva. Now Nathan Ake. His ball picks out Julian Alvarez. Grealish dwells on it, but then wins the ball back. Now it's with Rodri. Rodri fires it out to the Manchester City right. Bernardo Silva inside the area from the right. The ball is cut back by Silva, but he had run it out of play, and it will be a Crystal Palace goal kick. So 2 changes now for Roy Hodgson's side. Jairo Rideweld will leave the field. So Rideweld makes way, and Jeff Schlupp. This afternoon is also over, and both are replaced by Ahamada and Mateus Franca. Over that halfway line, plays it out to the left to Josko Gvardiol. Gvardiol to Kyle Walker. Back to Rodri. Kyle Walker has it once again. Now on to Ruben Diaz. Back to Diaz. Rico Lewis this time goes down under a challenge, and a free kick has been awarded to the home side. Now the ball is all the way back to the Manchester City goalkeeper Ederson. He plays it out to the right to Bernardo Silva. Silva inside the Palace area, palmed away this time by Dean Henderson, and it goes out for a Manchester City throw-in down the Sky Blues left-hand side. Throw in around 4 yards short of the corner flag to Manchester City from their left. Taken by Gvardiol. Now Ruben Diaz on to Kyle Walker this time. The ball is played forward, looking to find Rico Lewis. And now it's picked up by Mark Guay, who sends it forward. Now an opportunity for Palace down their left-hand side. This time an effort is fired in and dealt with at the back by Manchester City. Now the ball is held up by Julian Alvarez, played back by the Argentina international. Now played forward this time over the halfway line to Phil Foden. He's run into traffic. Mark Guay sends it forward. Still not always have it on the right hand side. Matete was looking to swing a leg at it, but instead it goes out, and it goes down, and Mateta goes down. What's the referee got to give? He's given a Crystal Palace penalty. Mateta went down under a challenge, and Crystal Palace have the opportunity now